Oh, well, hello everybody. Mickey here, Hampshire Outdoors and Survival. Sorry it's not a video out the woods, which is what I really wanted to do this week. However, last Wednesday went down with what felt like flu in the evening. Went through 4 or 5 days of hell. Day before yesterday, didn't feel so bad. Thought, yeah, I'm through the worst of it. I can go out with Mac and do a video. Got up the following morning and I felt like somebody had punched me in the chest. I've got a pain in my right hand lung. Breathing is terrible. Yeah, just feeling genuinely like rubbish. Jace popped round, and being a good friend that he is, he dropped us in a couple of tests. So we did the tests. I don't know if you can see on there. Yeah, we both come up as COVID positive. So we're isolated, which we'd been doing anyhow because we thought we had flu. We didn't want any of our friends, family and that to go down with it, so I missed the trip to my mum's. Thank goodness for that, because she's immune suppressed. Kaz has got an immuno deficiency because of her illness. Yeah, so it's really knocked the socks off us. So I'm not up the woods, and again, it's one of those things, but I want to get a video out. Because otherwise I'm just sitting around the house twiddling my thumbs, and that just makes me feel even worse. So I had been asked about AXES and safe usage of AXES, so I'm going to try and cover that here, which isn't so easy because I wanted to be able to give some demonstrations of correct usage, but I do think here I can excuse me, I can give some tips and ideas, and hopefully these will keep you safe when you're out in the woods, when you're doing your sort of thing. And also hopefully this advice will help you find the tools that are best suited for yourself. So what I'll get into first of all, I will save the 2 really good tools for a bit. I'll put the bill hooks over there and we will start with AXES. Okay, so safe use of AXES. There are many hundreds of types of AXES out there, and every design of axe has a different use. Okay, each axe is designed to be a chopper primarily, but also designed alongside that to be used or to have usage, whether it be an adze, okay, whether it be a wide bladed axe for carving work, whether it be a narrow axe for fine work, a broad axe for splitting, or a thin axe for general purpose. And then you have on top of that axes that are, shall we say, multiple use. Okay, so I'll start with one of those for you to give you sort of idea of the things you can find. So that was an acro tool. I've done a video on the acro tool already. Okay, so I keep that in the car because it's quite a good shovel. The tool itself can be set at multiple angles, so yeah, it can be used like a pick there, and it can be used like a shovel there. Okay, so take the shovel head off because we're not really into shovels today, and we'll come back to the axe. So the axe on this tool is an acro tool. It's a multi-purpose tool. That's what it was designed for. So it was designed to be a wire cutter, which has got a set of wire cutters there. It can be used to strain wire, hence this here. You can put a barbed wire through and use it to strain. Multiple uses. The actual axe itself isn't a lot of use apart from chopping things like kindling, because it's a very, very fine axe. Okay, so if you cut a large piece of timber, got a couple of bits of wood there. So if you imagine that axe going down into that piece of timber like that along the grain, what it's going to do in all likelihood is it's going to stick in there, because it's not going to split the wood far enough apart for it to do its job unless you use an immense amount of force, okay, which you could apply with this axe. However, downside of that is the more force you use, the more likely you are to harm yourself, and we will come back into that in a bit. Okay, well, first we'll cover the actual axes themselves. So again, it's not a bad little tool to keep in the boot of the car for those little emergencies. However, it's not really a brilliant axe. It's a general, and this is the thing you've got to remember. Axes have roles. You've got to find what suits yourself. Now, one of my favourites, and I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with me. They're going to say, "Oh, don't like that because it's polycarbonate, it's all modern, and it's this and that." Okay, but it's a great little starting axe for somebody who's starting out, and it also works very, very well. It's something like the Fiskars. Okay, now this is a Fiskars X10. It's got a polycarbonate handle on it, which is hollow, which makes the handle light. Positions the weight forward on it. But the nice thing with this axe, not only does it hold a very good edge, but it's very broad, okay, which makes a good splitting axe. In actual fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the lights on, redo that a little bit. Okay. Yeah, so it's a good splitting axe. It's very wide here, okay. So as that edge comes into the wood, it starts to split the wood apart down the fibres, okay, that way. So that's a great little axe, okay. I do like them. They're fairly cheap, they're fairly efficient. Now, there are people that sit there and they say to me, "Oh, you want a wooden handled axe, you want a wooden handled axe." Okay, wooden handled axes are good, okay. Natural materials do feel better in the hand, okay. But this comes out of the forestry world. This comes out of a tool to be used every day, all day. Okay. This stuff is not going to be affected by damp, dirt, and grime, which wood is. You can look after the wood as much as you want, but eventually it's either going to split, or it's going to get a bit of moisture in there, or it's going to get dirt works into the grain just from the sweat and the oils on your hands. Okay, so you get salt and that in there. Well, this isn't affected by that. This is literally a wipe down when you're done, put it in the box, and it's away. Okay, so again, if that's all you can afford, or that's all you've got, okay, it's not a problem. It's a good axe. Does the job that you want it to do. Don't get caught up in what I call axe snobbery. Okay, axe snobbery says that you've got to go and spend a fortune and buy a really top name axe. Now, when we talk about top name axes, this one was hand forged in Sweden, okay, and that was given to me by my son. And again, it's a very nice axe, but it doesn't widen out as quick as the Fiskars. The Fiskars is designed with splitting in mind. Okay, splits okay, because it's reasonably steep. That splits even better. Okay, so if I'm splitting logs and I'm using a small axe, that's the one I go for. That one I like to carry partly out of sentimental reasons, because it was given to me by my son, and it does have a nice feel to it. It's a nice working axe. Okay, you can work with that. So out of the two, which one would I choose to carry? Probably that one. Okay. And the reason I choose to carry that one, it's a nice straight haft, which makes it more accurate in the throw. It's got a good splitting head on it, holds a very, very fine edge, okay, and I can hold it out at an arm's length. Now that's quite important, because that allows me to control the weight of this axe, and if I control the weight of the axe, I can control the speed and I can be more accurate. This axe is a little bit more heavy, so it's a little bit more difficult to hold out there at the end, okay. Now, you can occasionally find things like that. The Viking axe, which is probably the best axe ever developed, because these were designed for people to carry every day. Okay, now it's a design I really, really like. However, again, it's not particularly broad. Okay, so for splitting, not so efficient. But then these were used for carving and all sorts. So that's the Viking style axe. Now, the one that you see me use the most up the woods, because we have mostly hardwoods up there, and I carry with it, carry it with me is a forest axe. Okay, now a forest axe, how can you describe this? A forest axe has a lighter head than a felling axe, and it has a shorter handle. Okay, a forest axe was designed to be a woodsman's tool. It could be carried into the woods. It was still light enough to carve with. It was still light enough to do light work with. It's a tool that you could use all day because it was light and efficient. Yet it's got a handle that's long enough on it for you to get a reasonable swing. Okay, so if you're now getting into splitting quite large pieces of timber, it's a tool to go with. Now this one wasn't expensive. Okay, this is a very, very, very old axe. A very old axe. Okay, the handle's obviously been replaced. You can buy replacement handles. I paid about £20 for that. Okay, and it's been a damn good tool. Now you could, in theory, take the head off of that axe and put a longer shaft on it. Okay, but as you can see the difference in the size of the heads, in not just the width but in the depth as well, and that is to give that enough meat to carry forward. Okay, to make that a working axe. And as you see again there, although it's not so steep here, okay, it's not so broad here, look at the bevel. Look at how wide that bevel is, how aggressive it is. That's designed to push the fibres of the timber apart, as opposed to that one. Okay. And you can see how the two work differently. Okay, that splits really, really well. Okay. And again, has a durable edge. That's got a finer edge on it. And I could use that for carving. Not so easily with the forest axe, but again, the forest axe is still light enough for you to shrink up on and be able to work. Now, let's get into some safety. Okay, so when you're cutting with an axe that's that long, in actual fact, I'm going to move the camera back a bit for this. So, when you're using an axe like this, okay, and you're stood, which is you're really what you don't want to be doing, you're going to come down, striking whatever you're wishing to hit. Now, there's a lot of force and energy in this, and this is why we come away from such heavy axes. If you miss your target, you glance off your target, or it just whips through your target, the momentum of that axe is keeping going. And invariably with a strike, okay, you're going to hit your leg. That's the thing you're going to be hitting. So you're far better actually getting down on the work. So if you can lift the work to this sort of height, i.e. level with your chest, okay, or even level with your hips, so you're kneeling on the ground. Move the item you want to chop away from you. In actual fact, let's get another piece of wood. Move the item you wish to chop away from you and strike here. If that goes through it, splits it straight away, or glances off, it's going to hit here or into the ground, okay, and not into me. It's actually going to strike the surface of the ground. Okay, so if I was kneeling and chopping that, and this is the ground, it's going to strike the ground before it can follow through on its swing and hit me. Okay, that is vitally important. Okay, if you can't do it from the ground, put it on a block, but drop your height to the block so that you're basically either going to be squatting or kneeling. Okay, you're hitting at an arm's length with this as well, and it's holding it away from you. You're going to get more chop there than you are here. Okay, and when it does go wrong, it stops it. It acts as a brake for it, because you're physically not going to stop that axe in its swing. Okay, I'm quite happy to challenge most people to try and stop an axe in its swing. And that even goes for small axes, okay? Even a small axe that only weighs a couple of pounds, if I miss that, that's a lot of momentum, it's a lot of weight on my arm, and my arm isn't designed to break to stop this action. My arm's designed to do this or to do that, not to do that. Okay, all the muscles and ligaments in your shoulders aren't designed to act as a brake, and your axe is going to be a sharp tool. If that then connects with your flesh, you're in a world of trouble. It's not going to be a little cut, it's going deep. Yeah, it's not going to be, oh excuse me, get my breath back. It's not going to be a shallow cut or a light cut, it's going to go deep. Okay, these sort of injuries, or the sort of injuries you get from things like this, are quite severe. Now, another thing I've seen quite lately is people battening with their axes. Now, you can batten with an axe. No, you can't. Yes, you can. Okay, so you can place your axe on that. You can take a log, and you can strike that. Okay, now you want to use a wooden batten. Don't ever strike metal on metal. Okay, that is a high carbon steel, that's a high carbon steel. Okay, that striking there will fracture this metal, it will put cracks in it, it will chip it, it will damage it. Okay, it ruins a tool. So if you're going to strike the hammer, you strike it with either wood, nylon mallet, even a rubber mallet, something like that, so that you don't shock load the steel. Steel against steel is something you really don't want to do. I mean, if you think, and people always argue with me, they go, oh, it's hammers and nails though. Nails are metal. Nails aren't made out of hardened metals. Okay, they're made out of steel quite often, or a mild steel, because it's designed to join wood. That's why you can bend a nail and a nail doesn't snap. Okay, the hammerhead, however, is going to be a high carbon steel, so that's why they don't chip and fracture from that. So when you're cutting your wood, look at the grain. So I've got a couple of examples here, and only a couple of small examples. So a bit of hazel there. So you see the knot in that there. Okay, that knot is going to cause these fibres to distort in here. Okay, so instead of having a straight grain running down, these grains are going to come down, and they're going to turn and twist round one another, and that makes for a very, very hard wood. That makes for a wood that does not want to split. Okay, same thing here, where you have a join like this. These fibres will be straight, but where it joins here, these fibres will start to do that, and that has to be a strong point on the tree. If you think about two large branches coming off like that, or a stem and a branch coming off, this joint is the weak spot. So the fibres here are designed to be stronger. So if you try and split this, and you try and split it either direction, you're going to have trouble splitting that piece of wood. So you try to avoid knots. So if you're going to make firewood, if you've got a piece with a knot, cut it like that. Cut the saw, cut it off here, cut it to length. Okay. If you then have to split it, you will, yeah, you can split it, but it's just going to take a lot more force and a lot more energy. Okay, also comes into the types of wood you're cutting. So always have, whenever you're going to use your axe, think about, your first thought is, A, what am I going to split? The second thought is how and where am I going to split it? And your thought process has to be, and it straight away has to be, what if I can't stop the axe? Okay, so as long as you're thinking about having a brake, you're having something to stop the axe from swinging through, whether it be a log, whether it be a fallen tree trunk. One of the things you can do, if you've got a large trunk in front of you and you're splitting wood, if it's on the ground flat there, you can take your logs and butt your logs up onto it there, stand this side of it and strike here with the axe. Okay, that log's going to act as a stopper, and if your axe follows through, that trunk's going to end up stopping it hitting you in the ankle. Again, if you're doing vertical cuts, okay, think about that, and then think about your body positioning. So if the axe comes into this, it comes through that, splits it and stops on there, it's not going to swing past and hit you. If you can't do either of those, go to kneeling. Okay, go to a kneeling position and place whatever you're going to split on the ground. Okay, and use the ground as your brake. because that swing through, again, coming back to that swing through, that's what's going to injure you or damage you. Now, if you're cutting across timbers, okay, it's ineffective to cut that way on, because the fibres run up and down the timber, okay, they act as drag on that. So you're better off coming in this way and then this way and cutting notches and wedges out. If you're coming in at 45 degrees to the grain, okay, which is the optimum angle, it's going to allow it to slice through more fibres and give you a cleaner cut. It also opens that cut up so that you can work it all the way through. The other thing there, especially if you're doing fire lighting, is the wood chips that you collect off of that, okay, put to one side, especially if it's dry material. Great, brilliant for lighting a fire, okay, so collect up the chips as well, collect up all the fibres. Now, if you're going to go with AXES, that's one way to go. The next thing you've got to think of is cutting implements for splitting wood and chopping wood. Now, when it comes to chopping wood, splitting wood, you go from splitting large pieces of wood down to batoning, okay? Now, so for batoning, you can use your knife, okay? Or you can use a chopper, you can use pretty much anything. You can use a go lock, okay? So, if you're going to use a go lock for batoning, again, it's a nice blade. The one that you really want to look out for is a convex grind, okay? Or something that's very wide with a Scandi grind, because again, what these are going to do is they're driven into the material. Rather than cutting all the whole length of it, they split the fibres of the material and cause the wood split. Again with the axe. Axe is a convex grind, okay? A good splitting tool like a go lock is a convex grind. A good batoning knife, okay, might not be a convex grind, but a Scandi grind on a wide blade is going to do the same thing. It's that wedging effect that splits the wood. And in actual fact, just thinking about it, if you think about the Fiskars, that really is a Scandi grind, okay? Alright, it's got a secondary bevel on that one, but it is a Scandi grind saw. It's very, very wide. It's designed to separate the fibres, split the wood. If you're batoning, okay, so if you're going to go batoning a piece of wood, what you don't want to be doing is trying to hold a piece of wood, place your knife on it and then hit it, because you've only got two hands. Now what you can do, you can take your piece of wood like that, place your edge on it just lightly, and that will support that. Place that on it lightly, that will support that. Take whatever you're going to batten with and batten, okay? And you want the bottom of this being on something hard like another log. It's hard to batten onto ground because actually what you're doing is driving into the ground. So if you can place that on a log, brilliant. Same thing with your knife. If you're battening, you always use the same section of your knife, and you can see from the wear on mine where I batten, okay? So I batten about halfway along the blade, okay, so it gives me enough of the blade here to drive down, because once this gets into that wood there, I can't hit the top of it anymore, and I don't want to hit the handle end, okay? So what I can then do is use the force of my body to push down on the handle and batten from here. If it gets jammed, okay, which does happen on occasion, okay, what you can do is you can either place your knife upside down on a block, so it's like that, and if you imagine that, that's now jammed in there, okay, and strike the end of the piece of wood, and that will keep driving that piece of wood down over the blade, eventually splitting it or freeing it. If it's really stuck, right, it's down here and there's no way it's coming out, what you can do is take another piece of wood, okay, and drive it in at the top just to open that split up so that you can release the knife. Don't, whatever you do, turn your knife over and start trying to hit the edge, because you're just going to deform and damage the edge. It's not going to do you any favours. If you're cutting through timber with a go lock or a large knife like that, again you want to be working at 45 degrees, okay, so you want to be chopping down that way, not that way, Okay, that is a waste of energy. That's more efficient. Okay, and the more steep the angle, the deeper you'll find your cuts. You do again have to be aware that if you come too shallow, it's a convex blade, it will do that. Okay, so position yourself at an angle where if that glances off of that, my body is positioned the other side of the tree. Okay, so it's going to turn the blade away from me and not going to hit me. And then we come to these beauties. Okay, bill hooks. Now bill hooks are something to be swung. Okay, it's a chopper, and it's designed to chop this stuff, primarily hazel. If I take a stick of hazel, again, a stick of hazel, ideally you want to cut at this sort of an angle. Okay, but what you're going to be doing, you're always cutting away from yourself, so you cut that way. Okay, so I don't know if you can see where I'm standing, and just move that back. So again, you cut away from yourself. You don't cut this way, which is what your brain says to do. Okay, you cut this way, and by cutting this way, standing this side and cutting this way, if anything goes wrong, okay, you're swinging away from yourself. Okay, and it makes for a better cut. Cut down this sort of an angle. Okay, in fact, turn this way. So I cut this sort of way, that sort of an angle. Okay, if you cut too shallow, it's going to do that. So you've got to practice your angles, and you've got to practice your positions of your cuts. If you're stood this way, okay, and you're cutting in like this, which is really sort of what I would call a strong arm cut for a right-hander. Okay, again, that tree is going to act as a block, but if I slice it straight through, it's crossing my body, which I don't really want. Okay, especially if you think about the shape of that and the position of it. If it does strike my leg, or it does strike me, that's going to hit in the groin. Okay, it's going to hit in up here, and you've got some very large arteries running down the inside of your thighs. You do not want to strike those. Or the other thing that's quite common with these, people working this way, and that's striking their kneecap. Okay, same thing with small axes. That's quite a common one. Is coming down, missing what they're chopping, and burying the head in their axe, into their knees. And it doesn't really take a lot of force for that bladed item to do an immense amount of damage. Okay, and this is the sort of damage that's life changing. If you hit yourself in the knee, or you hit yourself in the thigh with an axe, it's not just a big cut, it's a big deep cut. It's severing tendons, nerves, veins, arteries possibly. It will smash bones. If it hits you in the kneecap, your kneecap is probably irreparable. Okay, you've done a lot of damage. So again, please be careful, practice. And the first rule is think about what happens if it goes on. You know, if I miss, if it goes straight through, if it glances off, what's stopping it from hitting me? As long as you keep that mindset in process, or keep that to the forefront of your mind, you're probably going to be okay. But I'm just going to grab a cup of tea. That is also the reason why I carry the tourniquets, and I've had a lot of people come back to me and say, I don't understand why you carry tourniquets and what you do. Tourniquets are great in combat. Why would you carry a tourniquet as a civilian? Well, these are the reasons I carry a tourniquet as a civilian. Okay, there is a high level or high risk to my lower limbs especially. Okay, and if I bury a 3-pound axe into my leg, I know that that's going to be very, very serious. Now, if I can control the bleeding with pressure right at the beginning, I'm not going to apply a tourniquet. However, if it's an arterial bleed that I can't control, I want the tourniquet. I'm going to get it on, I'm going to wind it up, because quite often I'm out on my own, or it might be just 2 of us. Okay, no matter how great a hero we all think we are, you're not going to sling your mate over your shoulder, run the 2 miles out of the woods, throw him in the car, get him to the hospital before he's bled out. Okay, but by having the tourniquet with me, it means that I can control that bleeding at that point. Touch wood. Alright. So yeah, that's the best I can really do here at home. We will, once I'm over this and I'm sorted, we will get out the woods and I'll give some practical demonstrations. And again, bill hooks, they come in many types. Okay, so bill hooks come in many types depending where you are, which county you're in, and every county had their own design. Some were long handled, which I love. I'd love to get myself a long handled bill hook because of the amount of leverage you can put on those. Some bill hooks were quite simple, short handled. Okay, quite a simple tool. It's got a full tang in it, comes all the way through, but it's a rat-tailed tang. Okay, it's a nice light tool. You can work all day long with that. You get others that got this flat edge on the back, okay, which can be used for splitting. Okay, so you're splitting withies or you're splitting hazel. Okay, but then you have to think about this tool. Okay, you've now got an edge both sides, and you're starting to lift this over your shoulder to do chopping with. Okay, that point there, it's swinging around your face, and I'm being very aware of this, but I'm trying to give as close a demonstration as I can. The other thing to be aware of with these sort of choppers or these sort of bill hooks is your neck. Okay, it's curved like that. If you're coming back to use the back on it, it's very easy to poke yourself in the neck. Right, the tourniquet's not going to help then, is it? So again, think about these tools and think about how you use them. Now, my favourite way of using this one is actually to drive the point into a stump. Okay, I've got a sharp edge this side, a sharp edge this side, and I can split the withies on that then. Okay, so what I do is I start them off and then I pull them through it, and we'll cover that this summer. One of the things both me and Mac want to do with these videos in the next year is we want to cover some of the traditional crafts and skills of the countryside, these things that are missing, that are dying. We also want to go and look at some of our stories of old. Now, and so in doing, I do a lot of research. And I look at people like the heroes of my childhood, like Jack Hargreaves. Now, Jack Hargreaves did a series called Out of Town. It's out on YouTube. Okay, Jack Hargreaves, Out of Town. For those of you guys that aren't Brits, go and have a look. Right, the guy was fascinating. He covered all sorts, but it was all about old rural England. So this guy grew up, went away in the Second World War, and he could remember that before he went away in the Second World War, he remembered that everything was horse-drawn. Okay, all the farming, everything was done by horses. He came back from the Second World War, and there wasn't a horse to be seen. It was all tractors. Okay, a lot of them were Lend-Lease, the stuff that we got from you guys overseas. But we'd become mechanical very, very quickly in a 5-year period. And for a lot of these guys that went away, their crafts and skills, the blacksmith, the ploughman, and things like that, had gone. Okay, they were now mechanicalised. Fields suddenly went from being lots of small local fields with hedges to the hedges being ripped out with tractors and having massive fields, because you didn't look at it as a guy would take a day to plough that particular field. You could now do 10 times that size with a tractor in a day. Okay, and in the 1970s he did a series called Out of Town, going back and looking at a lot of these things he'd learned, and a lot of the history, and covered a lot of southern England. And I've been reviewing this footage. I'm fascinated by the fact that even since my childhood of the 70s, I can see change now. So a lot of the stuff that he'd done had gone. So again, if you want a really interesting video series to watch, I think it's Dave Knowles is the guy that's produced or put them onto YouTube. But Jack Hargreaves, Out of Town. Okay, go and have a look. He covers shooting, fishing, hunting, and rural crafts and trades of the old days, and some fantastic footage of old England. Yeah, go and have a look at that. Another one that I've come across, I was reviewing somebody that I used to watch years ago called Johnny Kingdom. He was a guy in Exmoor. Okay, it's a very, very, very wild part of Great Britain, down in the West Country, North Devon. And again, a proper country lad, okay, who did some fantastic wildlife videos and some fantastic videos covering his own area. But through that, I come across another character, and I beg you all, go and have a look. You're looking for some videos about somebody, a lady called Hope Bourne, okay, who lived on Exmoor right through to a very, 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 very late life. Who lived a very solitary life. She lived out there on her own. She hunted. She lived on, I think she said it was £1 a week, possibly £1 a month. She literally she went to town, she walked 7 miles to town all her life and back again once a week just to collect any mail and pick up any bits she needed. She lived a very frugal life, but she lived well and truly in touch with nature. Yeah, I literally started, I just come across it last night and I ended up watching the whole series and was absolutely blown away by it. Yeah, fantastic. So there you go. So that's my 3 videos this week. If you're like me, you're stuck at home, you're not well, YouTube's your friend. Don't just watch mine. Benny Bushcraft out there, go and have a look at him, show him some support. Sticks Outdoors, go show him some support. You've got Sussex Outdoors, go and show him some support. You've got Yorkshire Outdoors and Survival, yeah, go and show him some support. Dog Dad Outdoors, big hi to your dog dad, he's only up the road, show him some support. Hang Tough in the States, Derek, yeah, my brother from another mother, go show him some support. Okay, so there's plenty out there, and I will be watching all your videos and catching up on bits and pieces over the next week or so. Anyhow, that's enough waffling. Let's let you know how I'm feeling. Basically, I'm feeling like crap. Okay, trying to smile and look happy because nobody wants to see me sobbing into my cup of tea. It looks like me and Kaz have both got COVID. We'll fight our way through it. We'll come out the other side. Okay, stay positive. Guys, wherever you are, Merry Christmas. Get outdoors, have your adventures, enjoy the fresh air. Hopefully that you have a great, great Christmas for you and your families and friends. Wish you very well. We'll be putting up some more videos as of when I can and as of when I feel like it each day. That was a lot, wasn't it? Please like, subscribe, share. It really helps us. Take care of yourselves. Look after yourselves. Love those you do. Forgive those you don't. And as always, peace and light be upon you all. This is Mickey. Mickey out.